Hello there friends, it's Carly. Welcome back to my channel, or hello if you're new here. In today's video, we're going to be doing a big sit down catch up, and we are talking all things pre-pregnancy, pregnancy, my first trimester, symptoms, how did I know I was pregnant, and all of those good things. So if that is something you're keen to see, grab yourself a cuppa, or in this case, I'm having a massive water, and let's get into the video. So the story kind of starts at the end of last year. So in December of 2022, when we knew that this year we were going to start trying for a family, I went to the supermarket and I got myself some of the conception, pregnancy, breastfeeding multivitamins, and I started taking those in December. Even though we weren't even trying to have a family at that point, I really wanted to get in my mindset and like get my body kind of prepped and ready to start a family. Then in January, I went to the doctor and I had a cervical screening just to make sure everything was all good, and then I also had a preconception consulting sort of appointment to talk about what our plans were, and she had advised me to start those multivitamins, which I already had, and she definitely suggested that I be on them for 3 months prior to trying to conceive, to really build up my levels of folic acid. That's it. So then obviously we got married in March. That was pretty stressful leading up to it and also quite exciting. And then in April, we went on our honeymoon cruise to New Zealand. And you guys, if you watch those videos, got to experience all of those things as well. And then at that point, like as soon as we were married, we started trying to have a baby. I had an app on my phone that was linked to a watch that like hasn't had battery for ages, so I was able to track my cycle on that. So I was able to know when my period was coming, and I was also able to know when my fertile windows were, and I really capitalized on that and made good use of the fertile window to start trying to conceive. Thankfully, that happened quite quickly, which we weren't really expecting. I was of the understanding that, particularly being, 34, I'm a little bit older, it might be harder for me to get pregnant, especially since I had a PCOS diagnosis, and they did say, oh, it could impact fertility, maybe not, you'll just have to wait and see. So I didn't know how my age, PCOS would impact me trying to have a baby. I feel super blessed, and I know that it's probably quite uncommon these days to be able to conceive in the first month of trying. And if you're someone out there who is struggling to have a baby, honestly, my heart goes out to you. I send my prayers to you. I know people who have been dealing with infertility issues, and so many friends that have dealt with miscarriage as well, and it's just really heartbreaking and wouldn't wish that upon anyone, honestly. So I know just for myself how fortunate I am in this situation, that I was able to conceive easily. So I feel really blessed in that sense. And literally the next day after we conceived, I knew. Well, Dave knew. I think he was just like wishful thinking, but I knew in my body. I could just feel that there was something different. I felt like all of a sudden that there was this focus on my uterus and this kind of pressure down there, and like almost like there was a balloon that was starting to be like slowly blown up, which maybe that was the case. I don't know how quickly these things work, or maybe it was just my body signaling to my mind that you know, change was afoot. I'm not sure. But probably a week or I'd say 2 weeks after, my symptoms really started to show. So the obvious one was breast tenderness. I mean, if you're a female and you get periods, leading up to your period, and then, you know, in the first couple of days of your period, you would normally have sore boobs anyway. But for me, it was like next level, like very sore and constantly. And then I also started probably at about 3 weeks in, started feeling really nauseous. And it annoys me that the term morning sickness was coined, because it's not really a morning thing. It's kind of an all day, any time of the day or night type thing. And I probably had that from week 3, the entire rest of my first trimester. And I wasn't at the point of feeling sick and nauseous where I was actually throwing up, thank goodness. But it definitely prevented me from kind of doing my normal everyday activities, because I just did not want to eat. I would try and eat like dry foods or plain foods. I would try and eat as soon as I woke up, which was recommended to me. And there were just like some days where I was just trying to shovel food into my throat because I knew that I needed to eat, but like everything tasted disgusting and smelt disgusting, and I just didn't want to eat anything. So that was really frustrating, knowing that you need to eat to nurture yourself and your growing baby, but then also kind of having an incapacity to do so. At around week 2, I took a pregnancy test, which you guys probably saw on my announcement video if you watched that. So I was super early into things when I took that test, but I just knew from how I was feeling in my body and the fact that I was due to get I was in my period zone. I should have had my period at that point if I was going to get it. So I had a good feeling that it was going to come up pregnant. So aside from breast tenderness and morning sickness, I did have a very interesting symptom that I had no idea about prior. I'd never heard anyone talk about it. But at about week 7 or 8, for a couple of weeks actually, my nose would get super clogged. This is gross, I'm sorry. So if you don't like gross things, just, I don't know, click off this video. We're talking about pregnancy, so it's gonna get real around here. My nose would get super clogged up with snot all the time. And it's not like I was sick. I didn't have a cold. It wasn't like a runny nose. It would just be clogged with hard snot. And then I would blow my nose. And because my body is just like filled up with blood, flowing with blood that's going towards the baby, I read this online, the capillaries in my nose would have so much pressure that they would burst. So every time my nose would get filled up, I would blow it, I would be like, have a bloody nose. And then that would dry, that would harden, it would fill up with more snot, I'd have to blow it again. Another kind of, you know, not the prettiest symptom that I've had is digestion issues. So as your body is growing and changing and the uterus is growing rapidly, your digestion does slow down. So I would actually look quite pregnant in the early weeks, even though, you know, my uterus was probably quite small and the baby was tiny at that point, just because my system was so blocked and I was so bloated, and it was actually quite painful. There were some days where I did not go to the bathroom, if you know what I mean, and gas is a big thing. I think I think I did know this kind of, but maybe not to the extent as a pregnant person. you are always farting, always, and just kind of feeling uncomfortable. I would get quite nervous whenever I felt like a pain in my stomach, but sometimes it was gas and digestion pain, and other times, particularly around like week 5 to 10, I felt it really heavily, and I'm like having a break from it now, but I'm sure I will come back to it shortly. But because my uterus was growing and stretching, I would get these hectic growing pains, and almost every night for a couple of weeks there before I went to bed, I would have to put a heat pack on, you know, sort of my tummy. I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, don't ask me, but that's just one way that I could kind of cope with the uncomfortable feeling of the stretching that was taking place. And then I'd say my last symptom was my moods are all over the place, and I have been prone to crying easily and often, and sometimes at random things. So at the start of week 9, I went in for our first ultrasound. It was a dating scan. I'm pretty sure it was week 9. It could have been week 8. I'm not sure, but it is the ultrasound video that you guys saw in my pregnancy announcement, and I was very nervous to go in for this. Dave, likewise, when he just knew that we were pregnant, didn't have any cares in the world, but for me, I've heard about ectopic pregnancies and molar pregnancies. I've had friends who've experienced those things, and I just wanted to make sure that when I went in there, I saw a baby with a heartbeat. So I feel like being pregnant is, you know, there's a lot of anxiety around it that no one really talks about, and I'm trying to keep myself as calm and as stress-free as possible. Being a teacher, it's kind of hard to do. But when I'm constantly thinking about, is everything okay? It does add like an extra layer of worry and anxiety onto things. And then so going in for our 12-week scan, once again, my nerves were up. I just wanted to make sure that, you know, in between the last scan and now, that everything was still okay. Things were developing, the baby was fine, it was all looking good. And thankfully it was. We got some good feedback from that. It was, you know, a longer scan, so it was great to be able to, you know, see the baby for a little bit longer and at different angles and things like that. And so that just made me a little bit more relieved. So that's kind of where we're at with things. We're now in the 2nd trimester and going along quite well. I don't have the morning sickness to the same extent that I did. It will just sort of come and go in waves, but it won't necessarily last for a whole day or a long period of time like it did previously. I still do on occasion get those feelings of stretching and the growing pains that are happening, and yes, my digestion is still a cause for concern, and I have a strong feeling that my emotional side and erratic moods will probably just continue to happen. Not only up until this baby is born, but quite likely afterwards as well. The fun things are also starting to happen, like we're starting to buy things for the baby. So I've bought a few clothing items. We've also bought a stroller and a car seat. We've had a few things given to us by family as well. So some other clothes, some playthings, and then also a bassinet that has like a little drop down side so we can have it pushed right up against our bed as well. And it was basically the exact same bassinet that I was going to buy myself anyway, so I'm very thankful for my sister-in-law for gifting us that. And then mum and dad, as a baby present to us, are going to buy us a cot. But I did specify it needs to be one where the side can come down, because I'm a short person and I just don't know that I will have like the leverage to be able to put a baby up and over the rail. I'm also simultaneously concerned about a car seat, because when I upgraded my car to my mum car, love it, absolutely love it, but it is significantly higher off the ground than my previous car. And so when you get higher off the ground and then you get another level of height with a car seat, I might need a step stool in the back of my car for me to leverage my child inside. I'll see how I go, but like, this is the problems of being 5 foot. Some people like to say I'm 4'11", maybe I am, I don't know feet, but I'm gonna claim the 5 foot mark, and you know, it's gonna be a little bit of a height struggle, I won't lie. Speaking of buying things, I've also had to purchase some maternity friendly clothes. Now, when I knew that we were going to start trying to get pregnant, or when I was in my early days of being pregnant, I did do a little bit of thrift shopping and pick up some dresses that I thought would be great, maternity friendly dresses. But we are in winter at the moment, so they're gonna be good down the track, but if I'm going out and about during the day or the night, I need something a little bit warmer. I was wearing different pairs of jeans for the first, maybe like, I was able to comfortably wear my regular jeans up to 8 weeks, 7 or 8 weeks. And then after that, the top button needed to be covertly undone, and then like a shirt tucked over the top. And then after that, I just knew we're not going to undo the zipper. I need to get myself some maternity pants. So I bought myself a black pair of maternity jeans, and they have the kind of material elastic waist that can go up over your belly. And then I also got 2 or 3 pairs of maternity leggings for working out, and then even just being around the house as well. I was trying my best, particularly up to the 12 weeks. Once I'd have that 12-week scan, I was trying to be a bit subtle and covert about my dress attire as I went to work. I didn't want it to be like super obvious that I was pregnant, so I'd be wearing my pants and then sort of a flowy top, and it was getting into colder weather, so I'd often have a jacket or jumper over it as well. But as much as I thought that I was being covert, basically everyone around me, I must have like a very consistent and routine wardrobe, because basically everyone around me noticed that I was dressing differently and dressing in a little bit more looser materials. So it was pretty much no surprise to anyone when I ended up announcing that I was in fact pregnant. So speaking of announcing that I'm pregnant, the first person that I did tell other than Dave was my mum. And I think that she found out at maybe about 6 or 7 weeks. And then on Mother's Day actually, and you saw this in my pregnancy announcement video, is when we told the rest of my immediate family, and then telling Dave's parents as well. And then slowly from there, and that was at about, I think it was 10 weeks. Maybe it was 9 weeks, I think it was. And then slowly from there, we started branching out to our nans and other siblings. And then once we'd had our 12-week scan, that's when we told other broader members of our family. And then after that, I started telling just some key people at work who I thought would either need to know or I was super close to, and wanted to share that with them. And then from there, kind of like once, you know, the next layer of the circle was shared with, we started sharing on like the Facebook platforms to a little bit more family and friends, and then obviously my announcement video and images up on Instagram to share with you guys. Now, I do just want to say that for me, this is a highly personal video where I've shared a lot of the things that I've experienced. As I go along this, you know, pregnancy and motherhood journey, I'm happy to share things that I'm feeling and things that I'm experiencing, but I'm definitely not going to be in any way trying to teach or educate others, because I certainly don't know what I'm doing. This is our first child. I have not really grown up around young children. There are very few members of my family who've had kids as I've been an adult. So for me, it's a very foreign concept, and I have a lovely community of viewers and subscribers here on YouTube, and I just hope that as we continue into the next phase of my life, that you can continue to show that grace and that kindness, and I will hopefully be allowed the platform to continue to be able to be open and honest with you guys and share different aspects of my life. Now, I did try and have a somewhat linear conversation up to this point, but I've honestly just been blabbering and, you know, talking all over the place. So I would love for a second trimester update if you guys could leave any questions below in the comments, so that I have a little bit more direction on the things that I should talk about, and the things that you guys are interested in knowing. But if you did like this video, make sure to give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to subscribe down below. I put out new videos every week. With that being said, I hope you all have a fantastic rest of your week, and I'll see you all in my next video. Bye, guys.